Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Adams, and this is the weekly Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing. A gale warning has been issued over portions of the central tropical Atlantic through late Friday morning as a low pressure system strengthens and moves northeastward. Seas will build near this system and are likely to peak near 19 feet. Winds and seas will slowly diminish over this area this weekend as the low weakens and lifts northward. Looking ahead, a strong cold front is slated to push off the coast of the southeastern U.S. Sunday into Monday, and rapidly increasing winds and building seas are likely in the wake of the front over the northwestern and central Atlantic and portions of the eastern Gulf of America. Here's a look at the conditions over the tropical Atlantic today. A gale warning is in effect over the central Atlantic near a 1014 millibar low pressure system. Gale force winds and 11 to 15 foot seas are occurring near the center of the storm. By tonight, widespread gale to strong gale force winds and seas to 19 feet are expected as the low moves towards the northeast. Farther west, off the southeast coast of the United States, fresh to locally strong southeast winds are noted offshore of Florida and in the eastern Gulf of America as high pressure builds over the western Atlantic. Elsewhere, fresh to locally strong trade winds over the deep tropics is supporting widespread seas of 8 to 11 feet. Finally, fresh to locally strong trade winds are occurring in the south central Caribbean offshore of Colombia and in the Gulf of Venezuela, with widespread fresh trade winds occurring over much of the basin. On Friday, the low pressure system in the central Atlantic will be slowly lifting northward. Gale to strong gale force winds and very rough seas are expected near the low. Widespread moderate to fresh trade winds will continue to support rough seas over much of the open Atlantic Ocean. Farther west, fresh to strong south to southwest winds and rough seas can be expected off the coast of Florida ahead of a cold front moving through the southeastern United States. The front will sweep over this region and the Gulf of America through Friday, leading to fresh to strong winds in the northern Gulf through the late morning hours. Offshore of Florida, winds will turn to the north and eventually weaken behind the front Friday afternoon and night. In the Caribbean, strong to locally near gale force winds and rough seas are expected offshore of Colombia and in the Gulf of Venezuela. These winds will occur each night and morning into next week. By Saturday, the cold front moving over the Gulf and the northwestern tropical Atlantic will progress eastward, with moderate to fresh north to northeast winds occurring in the wake of the front offshore of Florida. Farther east, the low pressure system in the central Atlantic will have substantially weakened, though rough seas of 8 to 10 feet may still prevail in that region. Otherwise, fresh to locally strong east to southeast winds are expected to develop over the northeastern waters as high pressure builds north of the Canary Islands. For Sunday, a relaxing pressure gradient over the Atlantic waters will lead to diminishing trade winds in the deep tropics and slowly subsiding seas over the central and the eastern basin. Winds will continue to pulse to strong to locally near gale force in the south central Caribbean. By Sunday night or early Monday morning, a cold front moving through the southeastern United States is slated to move off the coast into the northwest tropical Atlantic and the northern Gulf of America. On Monday, the strong cold front will progress eastward, and widespread strong winds and rapidly building seas are expected in the wake of the front, covering a large area from coastal Florida through the Bahamas into areas north of the Greater Antilles. In the Gulf of America and the Florida Straits, fresh to locally strong east winds and locally rough seas will be possible. By Monday night, strong winds and rough seas will expand eastward through the central Atlantic, as well as through the passages into the Caribbean Sea, the lee of Cuba, the Windward Passage, and south of Hispaniola. Finally, for Tuesday, the distinct cold front moving eastward over the central Atlantic will maintain its strength and likely produce widespread fresh to strong winds in the wake of the front, as well as over the eastern Gulf of America and the northern and central Caribbean. A large north swell associated with this system will support widespread rough seas over much of the northwest and central tropical Atlantic, with very rough seas of 12 to 15 feet possible. Winds will diminish slowly into midweek as the front eventually weakens, and seas are expected to fall below 12 feet through Thursday in the central Atlantic. However, a new north swell moving into the northwestern waters may renew rough seas in this region by late next week. In summary, a gale warning remains in effect over portions of the central Atlantic through late Friday morning, and very rough seas will accompany these winds. Winds will diminish through Friday night, and seas are expected to fall below 12 feet by early Saturday. Also, a strong cold front is slated to produce widespread strong winds and rough seas over the northwestern tropical Atlantic late this weekend into early next week. Thank you for listening. Please check hurricanes.gov/marine for the latest forecast information. The next briefing will be posted by 5 p.m. on Sunday, December 21st.